Hi everyone, Miss Tui here. Ozobot spent the day playing at the park and wants to tell a family member about it, but is having a hard time finding the words. Can you use verbs, adverbs, and color codes to help Ozobot retell its story? For today's lesson, you will need an Ozobot fully charged and calibrated, your color code markers, a pencil, and your story frame, activity map, and color code chart. In today's lesson, you will identify verbs and adverbs from a word bank to complete sentences in a story. Once your story is complete, you will use color codes to illustrate those verbs and adverbs. Parts of speech are different words you use when you speak or write. In today's activity, you are going to be focusing on identifying and using verbs and adverbs. A verb is a word that describes an action or a state of being. A few examples are kick, write, have, make, be, smell, is, and jump. An adverb is a word that describes or tells more about a verb. An adverb often answers how, when, where, or how often. A few examples of adverbs are quietly, slowly, today, yesterday, near, here, always, and never. Now let's look at verbs and adverbs in sentences. Here's the sentence. My dog barks loudly. The verb in the sentence is the action or what the dog does. Barks. The adverb in the sentence is loudly because it tells how the dog barked. Here's another sentence. I ran quickly after the ball. The verb is ran because it tells about the action or what I did. The adverb is quickly because it tells you how I ran. Time to get started helping Ozobot retell its experiences at the park. First, you will need your story frame. At the top of the page, there is a list of words to use to complete Ozobot's story. The words are either verbs or adverbs. Let's begin by identifying all of the verbs in the word bank. A verb is a word that tells an action. An action is something that Ozobot can do or did do at the park. I am going to write the letter V next to all the words I think are verbs. The first word I see is timidly. This word isn't an action, so it's not a verb. The word timidly does not tell what Ozobot can do or what it did do at the park. The next word is skipped. Skipped is an action, so it is a verb. The word skipped tells what Ozobot could have done at the park. I will write a letter V next to the word skipped. I'm going to keep reading each of the words in the word bank and write a V next to all of the verbs I find. Can you read the words in the word bank to find all of the verbs or action words? Mark your verbs with the letter V. Great job finding all of the verbs or action words. Now, the other words in the word bank that are not marked with a V should be adverbs. An adverb tells how, where, or when the action happened. Let's look at the adverbs in the word bank and mark these words with the letter A. The first word in the word bank is timidly. This is an adverb because it describes how Ozobot could have ran or danced. I will mark timidly with the letter A. The next word I think is an adverb is tiredly. Tiredly is an adverb because it describes how Ozobot could have skated or played. I'm going to finish reading the adverbs in the word bank and write an A next to them. Can you read all the words in the word bank to find all of the adverbs or describing words? Mark your adverbs with the letter A. Wonderful work reading the words in your word bank and sorting them into verbs or adverbs. Let's use these verbs and adverbs to complete Ozobot's story about playing in the park. I will choose a verb and an adverb to complete each sentence in the story. My story begins like this. Ozobot skated eagerly to the park. First, it slid swiftly down the slide. I am going to finish adding verbs and adverbs into my story. Can you write verbs and adverbs to complete each sentence in your story? You can use a word more than once. You can also make your story silly as long as you use the verbs and adverbs correctly. After you've completed the story frame, you are ready for the activity map and your color code markers. The activity map will program Ozobot to demonstrate how it played at the park. Each line has 2 sequences of empty boxes. Each line represents a different part in your story. A sequence of 3 boxes are to show the adverbs in your story. A sequence of 4 boxes are to show the verbs in your story. Use your color code chart to choose from the speed or pause color codes to show your adverbs or how an action was done. Use the special moves color codes on your color code chart to show your verbs or actions. Look at my activity map to see how I used my story to choose my color codes. My first sentence is Ozobot skated eagerly to the park. To show the adverb eagerly, I will use the fast code. Then to show the verb skated, I will use the zigzag color code. The next sentence is, first, it slid swiftly down the slide. To show the adverb swiftly, I will use nitro boost. Then to show the verb slid, I will use backwalk. That's what I have so far. I'm going to finish adding color codes to my map. Can you add color codes to your map to show the verbs and adverbs in your story? You crushed the color coding. It's time to get your bot. Ozobot is now ready to retell its story about playing in the park. Listen to my finished story and watch my bot in action as it demonstrates the verbs and adverbs I chose. Ozobot skated eagerly to the park. First, it slid swiftly down the slide. Next, it ran slowly to shoot a basket on the basketball court. Then it slid quickly to the soccer field. When it got to the field, it danced tiredly. Suddenly, Ozobot heard a relative calling its name. It was time to leave. It skipped timidly all the way home. I am glad Ozobot needed my help today to find its words. I learned about verbs, adverbs, and I had a lot of fun. Can you read your story aloud as your bot demonstrates the verbs and adverbs? Before you turn in your work, check to make sure you have a verb written in each sentence, an adverb written in each sentence, a color code to show each adverb, and a color code to show each verb. Your work should show how Ozobot follows the lines and color codes to demonstrate the verbs and adverbs in your story. If you're looking for some more practice with parts of speech, I challenge you to highlight the nouns in your story. If you're feeling really creative, write your own story using verbs and adverbs. Come back again soon for our next lesson.